guys, so this video is it's about some of the stuff that I'm seeing on YouTube about intuitive eating and all in, and people commenting on YouTubers like mostly Stephanie Buttermore, and talking about her weight gain, and most of the stuff that I've seen or had been seeing had been extremely positive and really supportive and loving. And then all of a sudden, just like last night, I saw a whole bunch of videos that were really negative, and you know, one of them was even comparing her to a pig or a whale, and I was like, heartbroken. That is just so unkind to do to someone who is obviously going through a thing right now. Like, she never talked too much about, she never said, I have an eating disorder, but everything she was doing was recovery from an eating disorder. Like, that's a mental health issue, so I don't understand like why we're not being more kind. But basically, that is how people in general approach weight gain, as if it is the worst thing a woman could possibly do. You know, it's like a betrayal of the male gaze. Like, how dare you intentionally let yourself go? And that is one of the scariest parts of intuitive eating for me, and probably most people, and probably really scary for women in my size range. So today I wanted to chat a little bit about a concept that I call small fat, medium fat, large fat, very large fat, and the relative thin privilege. And I'm accultured enough to know that it's relative thin privilege of being small fat and doing something like this. So as a size 14, I am used to, like I've said before, somewhat decent healthcare, being able to shop in a lot of different stores and retailers, but still being excluded from some of the places that I'd love to shop, and just like a general, I think if you're like medium or large fat, the consensus is you're lazy, maybe not so smart, and you're completely lacking willpower. Whereas I think if you're small fat, the thing is like, oh, they just like food a little too much, and they're just, you know, they're chubby, and they might not be bright enough to realize that they're on the cusp, but they're definitely, you know, they should know they're on the cusp. And so it's almost like you're just like, maybe they think of you as like a bit of a dim bulb, but not completely. And maybe not quite as reckless as someone who's like a larger level of fatness. And so there's a certain privilege there. I mean, it's a shitty privilege. Let's just first like eliminate any doubt about that. Like, you're not really being taken for who you are. But one of the things I think that it's an invisibility. Like, you're just lumped in with this group of assumptions about people in your size group. And for the most part, yeah, they're like paternalistic and wrong, but they're more benign than the ones that occur the larger up the scale you get. And I have to admit, one of my huge fears is gaining weight and going into medium fat or large fat and getting back to being treated like that. It sucks, I know, because I've been there. My highest weight was a size 26, 28, and I know that life is extremely different on that side of the fat scale. And I know that my fear of gaining weight and my internalized bias, because yeah, I'm like totally body positive, size positive. I believe in health at every size, and I believe that we should all be taking care of ourselves. And I did all of the things I was a good little fatty according to diet culture. And the reason why I was a good little fatty was because living at that size, for me personally, with my level of internalized fat shame and bias, was excruciating. Excruciating. But it's also what keeps me stuck with intuitive eating and all of my eating issues, is that I take all of those messages from our society, from culture, and internalize them and use them as my beating stick inside. So this process is super confusing, and I think that adding the fear of losing the tiny cusp of privilege that I have is really like, is slowing me down. And yet at the same time, like, I don't want to gain weight. So I go back and forth with having this like ceiling for how much weight I will allow myself to gain on this journey, and it's a relatively low ceiling. It's about 5 pounds. And I know that someone could say, well, you sound like the ultimate hypocrite. Yes, I own that, you know, like I'm human, that I've said that before. I'm going to be super real in this process. But the fact that I'm struggling with it, talking about it, working with it, journaling, sharing it, owning it, I think, you know, is a step in the right direction. And I don't know, I'd love to hear from those of you who are at all different levels on the scale, way lower, way higher. How do you reconcile knowing that this process will likely result in weight gain, either temporary or permanent, and how do you deal with your own internal fat shaming and bias? Love to hear how you're doing it. I'm going to start working on some strategies for myself. Thanks. Have a great day.